back to the difference. Hopefully, everyone is having a fantastic New Year's Eve. Hard to believe 2025 is already here. We've got something very concerning, deeply concerning, that we've got to talk about today, and that is that Chinese hackers have breached the U.S. Treasury. And what does that mean for America? That's what we're talking about today. Let's check it out.
For more on this, we are bringing in Victoria Coates, Vice President of the National Security at the Heritage Foundation. Victoria, thank you for bringing us your insights here as we kick off a new year. In a sense, this is kind of a tale as old as time, Chinese espionage targeting, but in this case, our Treasury Department, and pretty specifically going into, they used a stolen key to remotely access user workstations. Just your reaction to this.
Well, Molly, good to be with you, and Happy New Year to you and Brian. This is deeply concerning, and I think it's interesting that the PRC is targeting the Treasury Department here. You might expect them to go after the State Department or the Defense Department, but no, they're going after Treasury. They're going after our economic might. They want to collect data on that. And it also highlights the problem that we have with so many federal workers now working remotely. We have cyber vulnerabilities because those workstations can be anywhere now. And so China is trying to take advantage of that potential weakness to gather more data, both on the Treasury Department, but then, as Alex was just saying, on individuals who are potentially connected with the government as well.
Yeah, it never seems to let up. Shifting gears a little bit, I want to switch to Ukraine. The Biden administration likely giving their last big load of money to Ukraine, a $2.5 billion security aid package for Ukraine. Zelensky, of course, happy about this. They've long asked for more money. This is a pretty significant sum. Your thoughts on the amount of money going in and the likelihood that the Trump administration will or will not continue funding in some aspect?
Well, there's a lot of funny accounting going on here, and it's not just the 2.5 that's going in military. Secretary Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, announced this week she's also sending an additional 3.4 billion in what we're calling direct economic assistance. So this isn't bullets and tanks. This is money that is being wired to Ukraine so that they can pay salaries, keep the government running, which we at the Heritage Foundation have long argued is not the job of the United States taxpayer. You know, if the commander in chief makes the decision that he wants to provide military aid, that is one thing. To have the United States bearing the bulk of the burden for essentially nation building in Europe just makes no sense. And so I think we need a full accounting of everything that's gone to Ukraine over the past 3 years. We're looking at about 175 billion total that's been appropriated for this purpose. The Biden administration is pushing large sums, as you say, out the door as they go into their final days in office, and essentially flooding Ukraine with cash. And so I think we need Congress and then the incoming administration to really get a handle on this.
Yeah, the U.S. is still Ukraine's largest single country donor. And there's an interesting line in this Political report that over the course of 2024, Moscow seized 2,800 square miles of Ukrainian territory. So this is very much still an ongoing conflict, and Russia gaining ground in a larger respect. I want to take a quick look at the polling on this. Americans are pretty mixed on this. Not a huge, they're split on whether or not this money should continue to Ukraine. If you take a look at some of this recent polling, this is can we show some of the polling? That there's not enough, about right, 25%, too much, 27%. That's the Pew Research Center. Your take on how Americans feel about this cash?
Well, we've seen the numbers shifting over. We'll be marking the third anniversary of the war in February. And I think, the American people, supported Ukraine very strongly as they fought back against Russian aggression. I think that's natural and right. But the Biden administration never presented any kind of a plan for this war beyond as much as it takes, as long as it takes. And that's not really a strategy. So I think they've seen large amounts of money, going to Ukraine, ever more aggressive weapon systems, and no explanation of what the end state here is. What's the desired conclusion to this? And there's so much carnage, as President-elect Trump has said repeatedly. The killing is mind-numbing, and it needs to end. And so, as you said, Russia, despite all of this assistance from the United States and from some of our European allies, it has not been enough to stem the tide and really push Russia back. And so the question is if, as President Trump has said, there is a negotiated settlement to be to be reached
Yeah,
if
and
the American
he has
president is
clearly
somebody.
leaned towards a diplomatic solution. So we'll see if that could ultimately come to pass in 2025. Very different administration around the corner. Victoria Coates, thank you very much for your insights today. We appreciate it, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. China's hacking of the U.S. Treasury, it isn't just a cyber issue. It's a direct threat to our sovereignty. And I don't know if people are taking this seriously. It's a threat to our security. It's a threat to the integrity of our financial systems. This should be a huge wake-up call for our leaders to focus on protecting America first. But while billions of taxpayer dollars are being sent overseas to Ukraine, our own defenses are being neglected, leaving critical government infrastructure vulnerable to hostile foreign powers. And it's absolutely insane to me that we're sending over this much money to Ukraine when at the same time China is hacking our financial institution. It's time to ask the tough questions. Why aren't we investing more in cybersecurity? Why is protecting America not the top priority? Man, we've got to get to January, guys. But hey, it's New Year's Eve. Let's go, everyone. Welcome back to the stream, guys. Welcome back to The Difference. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Just want to say thanks for joining the stream today. Thanks for leaving a like, subscribing. Guys, we're doing an early stream today because of New Year's Eve and wanted to get this content out for y'all. Most of the time, though, we do the stream at 5 p.m. Central. So be sure to subscribe and join the show, guys. We're building a community of like-minded people that love America and want what's best for this country. All right. The New York Police Department is facing migrant gang threats. The Tren de Aragua looms over the New York Eve crowd of 1 million people. Check out this video for more.
All right, with New Year's Eve preparations in the final stages, the NYPD is readying for the potential threat of Tren de Aragua today and into 2025.
This is an issue that we're dealing with, not specific to New Year's Eve, Times Square, but some newly emergent threats, newly emergent crime patterns that we have, again, tried to combat very early and very deeply so that we haven't had the entrenchment of some of this gang here in the city that you've seen elsewhere across the country.
Yeah, this comes as NYPD data shows that a record number of officers were injured by violent suspects this year. That's up 13% from last year. Joining us now is former head of counterterrorism operations for the NYPD and Fox News contributor Paul Mauro. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining us. You hear this, acute threat of Tren de Aragua, but it's kind of this larger issue of how the city has handled illegal immigrants that have come to the city. Is this something that we should look at and say, hey, this is a really big threat for tonight's celebrations, or is it really something that just is here all the time?
I would say the latter.
Yeah.
This is something that the city's been dealing with now for a couple of years, but specific to New Year's Eve, I don't think it is something that anybody who's coming to the event really needs to have on the agenda. There are other things to worry about. Watch yourself relative to pickpockets and things like that. Understand that once you get into a pen in Times Square, you're not going to leave. And if you do, you can't come back in. Measures like that. But in terms of a Tren de Aragua threat specific to the New Year's event, the PD is on this. They have a lot of resources, even as tight as it is for them relative to recruitment and retention. They are out pretty far ahead on this Tren de Aragua thing and the gang threat in general that we've seen grow out of the migrant crisis. And so I think that tonight will be fine relative to that issue.
Yeah, when we talk about why this crime from illegal immigrants is so, I guess, so acute in New York City and why it's felt so much. This is a great quote here that kind of tells you where police officers are on it. It says, an unnamed officer with 2 decades of experience told the New York Post, a lot more migrants assault cops than regular citizens. This comes as the lady we just saw speaking, let's see if I can grab her name real quick, but she's the deputy commissioner. She said that that basically these violent criminals are they're without consequence. And so you have them, they don't have consequence for attacking police officers. Now police officers say yeah, they're doing it worse. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the migrants, particularly the gangbangers, they come from some really rough terrain. Remember that Tren de Aragua specifically is a prison gang, and a Venezuelan prison gang is a crew that is used to doing battle with the police in Venezuela. They apparently exchange gunfire with the police regularly, and they put out to their members here in America that, and specifically in New York, that, hey, it's okay to shoot at the police because they shoot at us.
Wow.
That's just the
Man.
culture that they're used to back home, and they've brought
Wild.
some of that here. And so, yeah, the cops that are dealing with them are aware of the fact that they'll act with impunity, and realistically, they don't have a whole lot to lose. I mean, they've been given everything they want here. We don't seem to have any mechanism to get them out. They know that. They're very adept at playing the system. They know the system before they even get here. And so, yeah, there is a level of impunity and an arrogance that's coming out of these gangs, specifically this gang. And until we wake up, when Tom Homan comes in on 20 January and Donald Trump starts to do battle, and it's going to be a battle, a legalistic battle with the sanctuary cities and states, this kind of thing is going to go on because they're very aware of the fact that they have essentially a protected status.
Yeah, actually, that was the Sergeants Benevolent Association president that said that. So the person speaking for police officers and their concerns says, listen, there aren't any consequences for these migrants that are attacking police officers. I think it's pretty amazing to have literally the NYPD say, can't do our job. And while we're not able to do our job, we're getting attacked. Paul Mauro, you know that. Thank you for continuing to cover it and come on about it. We appreciate your service.
Guys, why is the New York Police Department being forced to dedicate critical resources to address threats like Tren de Aragua during a major event like New Year's Eve? I'll tell you why. This is a direct result of decades of failed immigration policies that have left our borders wide open, allowing these dangerous criminal organizations to exploit our system and operate freely within our cities. And I was just watching like that video there and that footage of these criminals like attacking our police. These gangs don't just threaten public safety. They erode the trust that we have in our institutions. They put law-abiding Americans in harm's way. This is a clear example of what happens when weak leadership prioritizes political narratives over the security and well-being of our citizens. We've got to have more common sense principles. We've got to have more common sense policies in our country. We need strong, decisive action to secure our border, protect our communities before it's too late. And I'm just tired of seeing stuff like this. But hey, guys, I do want to welcome everyone to the stream. I appreciate everyone's support. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Hope everyone's having a fantastic New Year's Eve. And make sure you stay safe tonight, guys. Okay, but the Democrats are in chaos. Why independents are ditching the toxic left is what we're talking about next. Tiana Lodosher weighs in this video. Y'all check this out.
All right, a promised topic. Is the Democratic brand toxic? A growing number of Democrats reportedly wondering if going independent will help them win in the long run. Let's bring in political reporter Tiana Lodesher now. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you. We're grateful for your insights here as we talk about something that I imagine a lot of Democrats are thinking about and talking about as they look back on this past election and how dramatic the Trump victory ultimately was and some of the challenges the Democratic Party now faces almost to rebuild. I want to get your thoughts on that. What are the Democrats facing as they enter this new 2025?
It won't just be brat summer that Democrats want to leave behind in 2024. Obviously, the entire resistance brand has failed because Donald Trump has been sent back to the White House twice in 8 years. But It's not just the branding. The branding is seen as geriatric, as evidenced not just by Joe Biden's run, but also, for instance, take the House Oversight Committee. Nancy Pelosi able to, from Germany, wield her way against AOC, a millennial, to put in Jerry Connolly, a 74-year-old, as ranking member. But it's also the policies themselves that are indeed unpopular. We saw this with the majority of Americans supporting mass deportations for most illegal immigrants here in this country. We saw it in the fact that it wasn't just the election was not just about the economy in general, but specifically about inflation that the Biden-Harris administration knew was indeed a risk when they passed Build Back Better. So yes, distancing themselves from Pelosi, Biden, what is perceived as sort of a nostalgic and insular era of Democratic politics, that is important. But also, what is the policy alternative to really the ghost of 2020's past that has still been haunting Democrats?
Yeah, and some of the issues haunting Democrats, or they've discussed this, is that they've lost the working class to some extent, may have spent too much time focusing on some of these niche or woke issues. But honestly, running as an independent is no easy game. There are people that have done it quite successfully. You know, Bernie Sanders stands out, Angus King up in Maine stands out as senators that have been successful. Let's take a look. This is a quote from Politico talking about some of these ideas. The deliberations, some of which are taking place in private, reflect the extent to which Trump's win has made the party unsure of what to do next. Few Democrats are dismissing Trump as a fluke anymore after he carried the popular vote and expanded his support among key parts of their base. Democrats who have jumped ship are making the bet that voters are so frustrated with the existing political parties that they will reward them for shaking things up. But it is hard to run without an apparatus. Your thoughts?
Certainly, but we also saw in 2024 the single Senate candidate that most outperformed Kamala Harris was indeed Dan Osborne, and he ran as an independent. Policy-wise, he was still fairly to the left, but he did a good job distancing himself from, again, not just the toxic brand, but also trying to reposition himself as a moderate. I think, though, that the real fear, the real reason why you see folks trying to rebrand as an independent in terms of the primary elections is the fear that what happened in 2024, where the Democrats coalesced around Joe Biden until it was too late to replace him with an actual primary, that will trickle down. You know, take Michigan, where Gretchen Whitmer is going to leave as the two-term incumbent governor. Pete Buttigieg is widely seen as decamping to replace her. And that's why you have this Detroit mayor saying, oh, maybe I need to run as an independent, because what if the party apparatus is too strong? And once again, you have another coronation. And just as a big picture, consider that in the last 3 presidential elections against Donald Trump, you had Hillary Clinton, who was mostly coronated by the DNC. And you also had Kamala Harris, who was overtly coronated by the DNC. Both of them lost. The only one who won, Joe Biden, in an open, rigorous, competitive primary.
Yeah, well, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the next Democratic primary. Remember, Joe Biden was supposed to be the transitional candidate building up this new generation. And now that's what they're going to have to do in the next couple of years. And we'll see how big that primary ends up being. It'll be fascinating on both sides, that next race. Thank you so much.
Wow, what a fail, guys. I mean, the growing toxicity of the left's brand isn't just about extreme policies. It's about how those policies and those rhetoric are alienating everyday Americans. People who have spent their lives supporting the Democratic Party are starting to feel like their values, such as free speech, fiscal responsibility, personal accountability, even basic common sense, are being disregarded in favor of far-left ideology. Many feel that the focus has shifted away from real solutions to kitchen table issues and instead prioritizes divisive cultural battles that don't resonate with the majority of the country. I mean, when we see lifelong Democrats moving independent, it's not just a political shift. This is a wake-up call that highlights a growing disconnect between the party's leadership and the people that they claim to represent. And this shift signals trouble not just for the Democratic Party, but it's for the direction of American politics as a whole. Guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone's support in the stream. If you're watching this video after the fact, remember most days we are live streaming 5 p.m. Central. Today, since it's New Year's Eve, we're getting in a little bit early. In fact, this whole week's going to be a little bit thrown off because of New Year's, but I'll be sending out the notifications, so make sure you got your notifications turned on for when these live streams will be happening. Okay, the liberal media is being exposed for their gaslighting on Biden's mental health decline. Very interesting to see everything that's coming out about this. I think that this next clip is a little bit entertaining. Y'all check this out, guys, because this is just insane what the liberal media was doing during the time when Biden was falling apart. Check it out.
Yeah, it was a year of misses from the media, especially when it came to their coverage of Biden. After years of calling Hunter Biden's laptop a hoax, its authenticity was proven in court. And remember what they said about Biden's decline since taking office?
Cheap fakes, videos of real events that are intentionally manipulated to fool viewers, released on an RNC opposition research social media account with zero independent fact-checking by these so-called journalists and spread throughout the right-wing ecosystem.
And they are being picked up by news outlets that know they're fakes and or know that they are misleading, but post them anyway.
Instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes.
Yeah, someone that isn't cheap or fake is Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce, and she joins us now. Tammy, I can't imagine you have any reaction to this. They didn't know it. They didn't know he had cognitive decline. They didn't know the laptop was real. They were just reporting the straight news.
That's right. Any reasonable person knew, ranging from the laptop to this template talk about cheap fakes. We weren't the only ones watching everyone say the same thing. The media was then immediately also watching each other say the same thing. So what that tells us is they themselves, I would argue, don't even believe what they were saying. That was the narrative. That's what they were to say. That was their propaganda to defend the administration. And it's one thing to really believe that, but it's another when you see everyone else on other networks, other legacy media, repeating that dynamic, which came out of the blue. It was a very strange thing. Everyone's like, what? There was deep fakes, and now they've got this phrase, cheap fakes, and it was embarrassing, I think, for them. Certainly embarrassing for the country, but it showed the audiences, which is why the numbers of these other networks continue to suffer. Democrats also want the truth. They want honest information because their families matter as well. And then they look at this and it feels like a drumbeat of manipulation and gaslighting and brainwashing. And of course, we finally have with these photographs of Joe Biden with Hunter, his son, and his Chinese associates, a lie that was proven a lie by photographs, which they fought to keep out of the public venue until after the election. So all through this, they know what the proof is, and their energy is put into keeping it away from the American people, which, of course, is why they're not in power in just a few weeks.
Yeah, some of the repercussions that may come from this, there may be investigations. Republicans did take the House. They have the opportunity to investigate. All of these intel officials that signed off on a letter to say the laptop was Russian propaganda, and we come to find out it absolutely was not. Now you have this picture you mentioned, Hunter and Joe meeting with Chinese officials. But the rest of those repercussions that affect our lives on a daily basis are a Democrat's not going to take the White House. President Donald Trump will be the 47th president, and he's going to take the White House. You say that Democrats maybe don't want this type of thing, but I don't think any American does. And where do they go from here? If the legacy media and the people in the Biden camp and all of these folks, if they have protected Biden and they won't admit that they did it, where does their credibility go from here?
Well, if it's impossible to go further down, but there's this quandary. We see it in the newspapers, even on the air on occasions, the pearl clutching about, how did this happen? And, Biden says he could have won and he should have stayed in. And they're looking at each other about I feel they're looking at Donald Trump as an accident, that in fact, they're so perfect and they have sole possession of the truth that only looking at the mistakes they made, and there's plenty, but they're never looking at the policy, what they stand for, what they promoted, what the American people don't want. Their answer is, if we don't want it, we're racist or sexist or homophobic. That's a lie. And the only way they're going to return is by taking the American people seriously, treating them with respect, and acknowledging that they need to report on facts, not be mouthpieces for a particular administration. And the people get mad at Republicans because we have arguments about what the facts are on certain policies and what to do. But that's the way we have to operate.
Yeah, we'll find out who the speaker will be, but at least the American people maybe have a little bit more trust in at least President Trump and Republicans right now.
Indeed.
Hey, Tammy Bruce, thank you for joining us. I hope.
Guys, this is exactly why I started the channel, because you can't trust the liberal media. You can't trust you can't trust 90% of what you see and read. And that's why I wanted to start this channel, so that we could bring out the truth, so we could discuss these common sense policies. We discuss what's really going on in the world. And you know what I'm excited about? I'm excited about 2025. 2025 is going to be a fantastic year. Starting tomorrow, guys. Hope everyone is excited about New Year's Eve tonight. Whether you're going to do some fireworks, or whether you're going to go out, whatever you're going to do, be sure that you stay safe and that you enjoy this time and celebrate the future, guys. Celebrate the future, because it really does look bright. Donald Trump is coming into office on the 20th. Just 3 more weeks, guys. 3 more weeks until we get someone that actually knows what he's doing is put into office, and a fantastic team that he's gathered around him. Excited to see everything that Donald Trump is going to do. So anyway, guys, I appreciate everyone's support on the stream. Let's go, guys. If you're watching this video after the fact, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because we do this stream every day, 5 p.m. Central. We're doing a little bit early today because of New Year's. Tomorrow's New Year's Day, so the schedules are going to be thrown off a little bit, but turn on your notifications so you'll be notified when we are doing the live stream this week, and then we'll definitely be getting back to our regular programming starting next week, 5 p.m. Central. Hey, guys, y'all have a fantastic day. Here's to 2025. Let's get it, guys. Let's do some amazing things, and let's see what we can do for this country. All right, appreciate y'all.